As the boat continued its journey towards the jungle shrine, the children noticed that the canal was getting narrower, offering a feast of close-up views of the village life on either side. Though the time was well past 9, the thick vegetation that consisted of coconut, arecanut, banana, coupled with some wild growth, did not allow the sun rays the freedom to touch down the ground. That, coupled with the thick morning mist, gave the whole area the beautiful looks of an early misty winter morning. The width of the canal was so narrow that the children felt that they could almost touch some of the vegetation on either banks as the boatman maneuvered the boat deftly through it. The children watched with great amusement a couple of villagers taking bath in the canal water, while some were found taking a detailed bath. For a few others, a dip in the cold waters of the canal was sufficient to clean their bodies. The children's delight in seeing a colorful kingfisher was short-lived, as it quickly flew away from the branch of the tree where it must have been patiently waiting to catch fishes. But soon another black-colored bird compensated that disappointment by beautifully posing for the children, though they could not establish its identity. As the boat progressed, the children found that the width of the canal was getting slowly wider. With the vegetation becoming thinner, it allowed the sunshine the freedom to penetrate the ground, which dramatically improved the visibility in the area. They also noticed that the banks had a good number of fishing nets. Sighting of a huge white-necked eagle sitting on a coconut tree branch enthused the children so much. They also had a close-up view of the fishing nets with a villager effortlessly rowing a small boat. They admired the courage of the villager, who was not scared of sitting in the boat that was continuously wobbling on either side, perhaps due to shifting of the rowing from one side to the other for better maneuvering. The sight of a couple of small-sized boats used to transport agricultural items like coconut, vegetables, etc. was a great learning experience for them. The items being transported must have been so heavy that the canal water was almost up to the brim of the boat. The children wondered about the balancing skill of the person effortlessly rowing the boat in such condition by standing on the verge of the boat. Sudden sighting of a white crane brought cheers on the faces of the children. They were greatly surprised to see Two children of their age group effortlessly rowing a small sized boat in the canal. The children also had a close look at the fisherman trying to find the right place to spread his fishing net. They wondered what could be inside the small vessel he had tied to his waist. While some guessed it as a vessel to keep his catch, others thought that he must have kept some eatable in it. Even as the children were debating that issue, a colorful big crab appeared from nowhere in front of them as it crawled slowly on a part of a tree fallen on the canal. It must also be searching for his morning food, the children felt. The children found that the width of the canal was again getting broadened, but the vegetation getting thinned out. The only vegetation was now coconut and arecanut trees. It was then the children noticed that a group of well-dressed villagers moving along the canal to the same direction where they were also traveling in the boat. From the type of dress and their appearance gave an indication that they might also be going to a nearby temple. When one of the girls in the group waved at the children in the boat, all of them happily waved back at the girl. Watching that temple-going group on the bank, Babbannu suddenly got up and went up to the boat rowers. After a brief discussion, he made an announcement that within the next 10 to 15 minutes, the boat would reach the jetty. While the children greeted that announcement with thunderous applause, rest of the passengers made a preparation to get down from the boat after a long but pleasant journey. But soon the children were back to their favorite pastime of observing the sights on the bank as if they were very keen not to miss anything. The children also noticed that the vegetation on either banks of the canal was again getting thicker. One of their attention fell on a snake moving ahead with great speed. That boy almost jumped out of the seat in excitement, shouting, "Devoured, devoured," as if to show it to others. By that time they could locate that place, the snake, unlike the modern petty politicians craving for public attention all time, had already vanished into the thick wild grass, bringing all-round disappointment. "You are only going to see bigger snakes from now onwards," consoled Vallakka, while the news cheered some of the adventurous ones. Most of the girls were not at all amused. The fear got reflected on their faces as they moved slowly closer to the elder members. As the time ticked away, the boatmen were making attempts to tow the boat near to the left bank. It was obvious that the destination has finally reached, as all the children in their excitement got up and made a beeline to the exit point. But Babbannu cautioned them that after getting down from the boat, they would have to walk through the jungle for another half an hour to reach the shrine. But that information only made them more excited as they go down from the boat one by one. and started observing the surroundings. Seeing the whole area sparsely populated with a thin vegetation cover, the children wondered about the jungle animals, shrine that they have been told since the day before. But hearing Babbanu again warning all to be very careful walking through the jungle during the next half an hour, they were reassured that they would surely soon see the much awaited jungle animals and a strange jungle shrine as they prepared for the final destination. Some of the children recalled incidents from the life of Sri Ram, Lakshman, and Sita walking through the dense jungle and imagined themselves in that roles for the next half an hour. But others felt that Sri Ram and Lakshman had powerful bows and arrows for self-protection, and they had no such things should they encounter any of those wild animals during the journey. That fearful thought slowly applied brakes on their enthusiasm, forcing them to move behind the cover of elders as they started walking through the country path seen ahead.